TG Tutorials.
I'm reliable. Hey guys, it's Matt here, and welcome to another episode of TG Tutorials. In this episode, I'm going to teach you how to record PS2 footage using your Roxio Game Capture HD Pro. And before we begin, let me show you exactly what you need.
So the first thing you're going to need is a PlayStation 2. Now, I'm using a slim version that has been modded, as you can tell, but you don't need any mods. You don't need to use a slim version. You can use a fat version. Either way, you need a PlayStation 2. You need to be A, working, B, you need to have power cords, and of course, you need AV cables as well. And the next thing you'll need is your Roxio Game Capture HD Pro. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this one in particular is because you definitely need to get one brand new. There is a CD that comes with it that has a program that you install onto your computer, so you definitely should get one brand new, or make sure that you are getting one with the CD intact, because you do need to put that serial number in to install the program. And you will also need two HDMI cables. Any old HDMI cables will do so long as they work. You will probably find one around your house by walking around, maybe tripping on one. I could potentially trip on an HDMI cable in my house. I have way too many. And the last thing you'll need is the mini AV to HDMI. Now, am I saying that you should get this because it is the best product on the market? No, it is not. But the best products on the market are very, very expensive. I know that I can't afford the best products on the market, so when it comes to something that I need that's extremely cheap, that does what it needs to do, not extremely well, mostly relatively adequately well, this is what I got. It was around $10, and if you need to be able to record footage just like the way the PS2 intended, no kinds of upscales or anything like that, it just takes it from point A to point B, this is what I'm using. Again, is it the best? No, but if you need to record footage, and that's the only reason why you're doing it, just to record footage, not to have the best looking footage, amazing quality footage, just I need to record this footage, this is what you're going to get. So like I mentioned earlier, I got it for around $10.
And now that you know what you need, let me show you exactly how to do it.
So after plugging the AV cables into the back of the PlayStation 2, go over to the AV to HDMI and plug those cables into this side of the AV to HDMI. Now turn it around, and then when you do, you're going to notice that there is an HDMI out port. Plug the HDMI cable into there, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Now turn this around, and as you can see, there is a USB power cord that does come with the mini AV to HDMI. Make sure that if you get one brand new, you get one, and if you don't, you might have one laying around your house. That is a power source that you will need to plug into your PC or laptop. Also, as you can see on the right here, there's a PAL or NTSC switch. If your region is PAL, switch it over to PAL. If it's NTSC, switch it over to NTSC. Look at that. You can do either one. So now let's take a look at the Roxio. So as you can see, it says video input right there. So take the HDMI from the mini AV to HDMI and plug that into there, and then turn this thing around. As you can see, there's the video output. That HDMI goes from there to your television or monitor of choice. And as you can see, there's that weird white cord to the left there, and that is where you're going to have to plug in the cord that comes with the Roxio into your PC or laptop, whatever you're using that you've installed the program onto. And speaking of the program, let's open it up right now. And after you open the program up, you'll be met with this window here that says Capture or Edit and Stream. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're looking at the capture side of things, so click on Capture right there. Okay, so if you've set up everything correctly, then your screen should look just like this. Now, if it doesn't, maybe there's a blue screen or it's glitching out or something like that, there's a good chance that the problem is that your input is actually set to component and not HDMI. Now, I know that we are using AV cables, but at the same time, because there's an HDMI going from the AV to HDMI to the Roxio, it assumes that it is HDMI. So because of that, you're going to have to set it to HDMI, and if for some reason it still doesn't work, I would suggest turning off the program and turning it on again. It could just be that it needs to register it, and it might not be able to do it in real time for one reason or another. So everything should be looking fine. You should have all your gameplay stuff right over here. Now, as you can see, it says settings M2TS. You can't change that. That's just that's the format of the file after everything's said and done. It does work in the video editing software that I use, but if it doesn't for you, you can probably get any kind of free video software converter to just convert it on the fly before you actually put it into your whatever program you're using to edit. Also, for prefix, that of course changes the file name, as you can see right here. Personally, I just leave it like that because I like to see what the date is when I recorded it originally, and I'll put it into one mega folder with the name of the game or something like that. So I really don't change it, especially because you have to then change it every single time. Otherwise, it becomes name of game 1 or 2, 3, 4. So I usually just leave it as is. As you can see, it says time elapsed, file size created, record time left, and space left on drive. I obviously trust space left on drive. That's usually very reliable. But when it comes to record time left, I don't really judge it because depending on what you're trying to record, what type of game you're trying to record, it'll just fluctuate. So I really don't touch that. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're using Start Capture, not live stream. Now I'm not going to click Start Capture, and the reason why is because of the fact that I can't use OBS on this computer while using Roxio. So just to have no conflicts, so that everything works well, I'm going to just not click that. But you would click that if you wanted to, start capturing your gameplay footage. Now you could mute preview audio, which I would suggest doing. It doesn't mute the actual audio when you're recording, but it mutes the audio in this Roxio program. Again, would suggest doing that because you want to focus on the audio that's on your monitor, your television, whatever you're using. You don't want to focus on the gameplay footage here because it will be delayed. So let's go over here. As you can see, there's full screen, grab snapshot, and this is actually adjusting the recording audio. I don't touch any of those. You might as well just do all that stuff in post while you're editing. So something else that I would suggest not touching is adjust picture, and you're going to see why. So let's adjust brightness right here, and when you do, you're going to notice that it actually overlays. So it is adjusting the brightness on top of, not behind. So again, if you want to adjust the brightness, I do admit sometimes the Roxio is a little bit dark. I just do that in video editing software. I don't even touch it here. Now there are some other settings you might want to mess with. You can actually go to Tools, go to Options, and then when you do, you can see that there's a profile. It says 480 HD 720 or 1080. It doesn't really change anything from what I've noticed. It just changes it from 4:3 to widescreen. It really isn't worth it in my opinion. I think again you can do all of that stuff in post. So even with the video bitrate, I don't notice much, especially because we are in this case we are much different because we are using a PlayStation 2. If you do want to start capture or stop capture without clicking the buttons, if you're like me and you have a mouse pad that's a little iffy, because sometimes you could actually double click start capture and it doesn't really work out that well, you could press F6 or F7. And again, we're not really using live streaming for the tutorial. And also, as you can tell, it says you could use Justin.tv. Now, if you don't know, Justin.tv doesn't exist anymore. So I don't even think that you could technically live stream with us, at least using Roxio itself, through this Roxio program itself. And once you've recorded what you wanted to record, you'll see it come up down here. Now, I would suggest not doing too many at any given time, so maybe doing only 5 or 6. The reason why is because after a while, it does start to load these different pictures all throughout the screen, and when it does that, it kind of does lag and delay the Roxio. So I would suggest clearing them up, not from even your hard drive, but specifically from this window right here, as you've done at the very least maybe 3, 4, 5 of them in a certain session. And speaking of a session, something that I almost forgot to mention, you can look at set capture length up here. Again, I don't touch that, and the reason why is because I don't know how long I'm going to go. Sometimes I think I'm going to go for 30 minutes, might end up going for an hour. So personally, I don't even touch that. Again, I just edit it all down after the fact. When it comes to quality, this might be the reason why, depending on what you're recording, be it PS2 or other footage, might seem a little weird, might be a little glitchy. It might be because your computer can't handle it. And that's a hard thing to deal with, especially for me, but sometimes my computer just cannot handle certain games. So, or at least in the preview window, cannot handle certain games. So, what I do is I just take the quality bar and I just bring it down a little bit. I've had it here and it's worked wonders for me. I know that if you want to record something at the best quality possible, that might hurt, but if your computer can't handle it, it simply cannot handle it. So that about wraps up this part of the tutorial, and let's jump back to me in front of a shelf.
And as you guys can see, it's not that difficult. I mean, sure, yes, it is convoluted, and if you guys are having any problems, then please comment down below and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. But it's not that difficult, just, again, convoluted. Anyway, so, thank you all so much for watching another episode of TG Tutorials. Please remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and if you didn't like the video, you can still like and subscribe either way. Also, comment down below if you have any suggestions for future episodes. Would love to hear them. And thank you all so much. Love you all. Take care. And tune in next time for another episode of TG Tutorials. Alright guys, so see ya!